SWFA SS-Tac scope rings. What do we got? Well, other than a box that says 30mm with 1" insert, Picatinny style, matte finish, and low. It says made in China, and that's about it. I expect nothing less for the price. These low rings are about $35. The high rings go up as high as $40. What do they come with? Well, we got 2 rings, obviously. These are a set. What else does it come with? Comes the T15 Torx bit driver. That is good for when you have 6 T15 screws. It also comes with a set of reduction rings going from 30mm down to 1". Now, even though it comes with them, I wouldn't recommend using these for basically anything more than a 22. If you're going to buy rings, buy the right rings for the right scope, or vice versa. When you put spacers in like this, all you're doing is running the risk of having something else fail. When something else fails, well, it fails. And you don't want that on anything, especially a rifle. Onto the rings. 6 screw on top, T15 drive. On the side, a single steel cross bolt with a half-inch hex lock. Nice and strong. This is pressed in. I see some splines on there. You don't have to worry about this coming out. But while we're okay, so it is a captive hex nut, so you don't have to worry about losing that in the field. That's kind of nice. I don't mind these, with the exception of they are a little bit big and bulky, but you know, if you're okay with that, don't worry about it. As far as the caps, give me a sec. As for the caps, they're pretty thin, nice and small, not too much excess material up on top, very, very lightweight. Even though the top really doesn't matter because you're not worrying about any clearancing issues, it's all in the base. Now, this base is pretty thick. It's got a lot of meat and potatoes over here, and it's very wide. Some can see that as a pro, some can see that as a con. The only con I have for this really is they're bulky, they're big. 6 screws on top has a benefit. The benefit is you don't have to put as much pressure on the screws when you're locking this up to prevent your scope from moving. I'd probably recommend about 15 inch-pounds on these, and make sure you wipe off all the oils on here first. And I'd probably do a dab of blue Loctite. To show you how girthy this ring really is, I'm going to compare it to a Leupold QRW. This is also a 30mm ring that's low, and if I put these side to side, you could really start to notice just how much bigger the SS ring is. Not to say that's a bad thing, but it's something that some people will consider to be a negative. For me, I don't really mind it, only because these are really inexpensive. These are about, like I said, this is a $35 ring. And in fact, it's free if you buy an SWFA scope during their Black Friday sale, like I did, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, got this for free. These are about $70, these QRWs. However, even though these are steel and these are aluminum, the weight difference isn't that noticeable. The QRW is still a little bit heavier, and I think that's only because this is a quick detach version. I'll have to compare this to my standard version later, but it all depends on what you really want. Something big and massive and inexpensive, or something much more streamlined and I feel much more attractive looking. I'm not going to get into anything more on this ring because, well, that's a video for another day. As far as the SWFA ring, it's fine. It's just really friggin' big. I have no doubts that this is going to hold onto a scope on any gun you put it on. And would I trust it? I absolutely would. In fact, I have a set of these rings on my Ruger home defense gun. What does that look like? Well, I have it with me right here. On this gun, I really don't care. This gun's not designed to be a super lightweight gun or anything like that, and they work just fine. However, when you compare it to, this Steiner P4XI 1-4, they do look pretty big on there. However, again, I only had to screw these, I think I tightened these to about 10 or 12 inch-pounds, and it's never lost its zero, ever. Now, with the crossbolt, of course, you locked it up to about 50 inch-pounds, but that's a steel crossbolt on a rail, which is fine. It all depends on what you really want. But also take into consideration how big these rings are. You have to make sure, fortunately I don't have to deal with it here, but if this ring was a little bit farther back, I would have bolt handle clearance issues. Another gun that I have these rings on is a CZ455 for a friend of mine, and No issues here because the bolt's farther back. But again, if you don't think that these don't look too bad, these rings are perfectly fine. Now, lapping. Would I lap these? Well, I'll be honest, I've never lapped rings before, and I've never felt to really have the need. I feel if you have a quality ring on a quality base, and you secure that properly, you shouldn't have to lap these. But either which way, because I don't have any other way of really measuring these, I'm going to get the lowest part, and I'm just going to see what these read. This I'm getting 245 thousandths. No surprise there, I'm getting exactly 245 thousandths. I don't think that you'd ever have to lap these. If you want to, by all means, go ahead. Would I recommend these rings? I would. There's nothing else to really say. They're rather inexpensive, being made in China and all. They're aluminum, so they're still fairly lightweight. They're 6-bolt on top, so you don't have to worry about anything loosening up. If you don't mind a half-inch hex on the side, then you shouldn't have to worry about anything with these rings. As far as the inserts, again, I would not recommend using them on anything more than, I don't know, a 22 if you really had to. All in all, for $35 to $40, these are really solid rings. A lot better than other cheap options out there. And again, if you're buying an SWFA fixed power scope during their Black Friday sales, they include a set of these of your height choosing for free. Which ones would I recommend for their fixed power scopes? The lows. The lows clear the 42mm objective tube just fine. And with that concludes this quick review. I haven't really seen much about these rings, and I figured, why not give this a shot? I think that they're a really good budget ring, as long as you don't mind it being quite massive. If you're looking for something more streamlined, there are other options, of course, but you're not going to be spending $35 for a decent quality ring. You're going to be spending somewhere along the lines of $70 for a ring like this. Now, why is this more expensive? Well, a couple things, other than this being a quick release. This is American made. This is made of really high quality materials. The finish on this is much better. The finish on these rings, it's fine. You know, the anodizing on it, it's a little rough in some spots, but again, it's a $35 ring. What could you expect? It's going to serve you just fine. Recommended. Go out and buy it, or just wait until their Black Friday sale and get a set of these for free. This is my 4th set of these I have. Yeah, I have a lot of these, and I'll never get rid of them. I'll always keep them around because I'm always going to use them for something, whether it's for my Ruger or my CZ, it doesn't matter. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.